الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإلهكم إله واحد لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار والفلك التي تجري في البحر بما ينفع الناس وما أنزل الله من السماء من ماء فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وبث فيها من كل دابة وتصريف الرياح والسحاب المسخر بين السماء والأرض لآيات لقوم يعقلون صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, in continuation of ayat number 163 of Surah Al-Baqarah, we very briefly went over the connection of this ayah to some of the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam related to the Ism al-A'zam, the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing about this ayah, coming to the meaning of ayat number 163 of Surah Al-Baqarah, we have already done the rabat and connection, and we briefly went over in a very brief way related to the Ism al-A'zam, the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Coming to the tarjuma, the translation of this ayah, and details related to that tarjuma, related to that detail, to the translation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah, in ayat number 163, it is a very unique introduction related to the aspect of uluhiyah. And this ayah, when you really break it down, this is an ayah that is an ayah about ilah, or we may translate about ilah, godhood, or a being that deserves to be worshipped. There are three aspects or three places in this ayah very distinctly that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very unique way describes ilah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, wa ilahukum, and your ilah, ilahu wahid is one ilah, la ilaha illahu, there's no ilah but him, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this ayah, the three distinctions or distinct elements related to ilah, one is the first word itself, wa ilahukum, and your ilah, meaning the ilah of all of you. And this you do not limit it just to the humanity, but to the whole of creation. Ilahu wahid is one ilah. This is the second distinction. Ilahu wahid is one ilah. La ilaha illahu, coming to the third distinction. There is no ilah but him. So in three unique ways, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he describes uluhiyya or godhood. First, the term ilah itself. We say uluhiyya being that deserves to be worshipped. A being that deserves to be worshipped is also known as ibadah or ubudiyya, worship. And what is this distinct aspect of worship? There has to be a few elements related to this that we have to understand. It is the lack of understanding of these distinct elements that in mankind and even in the jinn kind you find shirk, where there has been associating of partners, and even those who would go and deny the existence of an ilah. So there are a few distinct elements related to ilah. One is what makes someone or something deserving of worship. This is one distinction. And the second distinction is what is worship? What is real worship? And the third distinction is a whole unique aspect where you have the element of the relation of worship to that being. But we'll get into those details. Coming to the first part, related to a being that deserves to be worshipped. There are particular qualities that a being must have in order to become deserving of worship. We have to understand this very, very clearly. There are particular qualities that a being must have that makes that being deserving of worship. If any one of those qualities are missing, then that being will not be deserving of worship. Because we have to understand, because this is basically the essence of Tawheed, the essence of even Islam, the foundation of Iman, foundation of belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are certain qualities, particular characteristics that a being must have that makes him deserving of worship. Any one of those are missing, so then that being will be imperfect, as we say, or will not be deserving of worship. The first quality is that that being is a being that is not affected by his creation. A being that has the power to create and is not affected by what he creates. And this is a concept and a very, very deep understanding that as humanity, as human beings, is very difficult for us to grasp. Because we have not met any creation that has this power to create. Nor have we really comprehended what creation is. That the power to make something from nothing, that there is nothing and then there's something. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created from nothing. He created the original material. And when He created the original material, so He was not affected by it. And that's another aspect. We as human beings, we invent many things, we build many things, we manufacture many things, and we are affected by them, and we can be affected by them. How many inventions we're affected by? How many inventions harm us and even have the potential to kill us? How many things we've manufactured? The vehicles that we drive, the homes that we live in, and how many weapons there are. We human beings have invented them, manufactured them, we build them. So there are so many aspects of what we do that can impact us on a very dramatic level, to the point where it can even take our life. When it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creation cannot harm Him in any way. On the other side, benefit. We as human beings, whenever we make something, whenever we invent something, whenever we build something, whenever we manufacture something, we always do it so that it benefits us. In most cases, or in majority of the cases. Everything that we have invented, that we have built, manufactured, we've done for our benefit. We have sped up travel. We have sped up information. We have sped up communication. We have connected the world. How many things we benefit from? Because of that, there's also the aspect of dependency. We depend on many of these things. If not, we become dependent on many of these things. Our life, especially in the Western world, is very different than when we go. Many of us go to the Eastern world, back home, to other parts of the world. Life is very different. There are many things we depend on here that you do not find those facilities back home. It takes time to adapt and readjust. So the aspect of dependency, that whatever we invent, we build, we manufacture, we depend on them. We build them for our benefit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't need His creation. He does not depend on His creation. He does not benefit from His creation. Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. Wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. So this is an amazing aspect of, or one major quality of an ilah, is that He has the power to create, but He's not affected by His creation. He's not harmed by His creation. His creation, even if all of them get together to try and harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they cannot do it in any way. And if all of creation gets together to try and benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they cannot benefit Him in any way. If all of creation gets together, they don't want to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will not affect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any way. وَقَالَ مُوسَى إِن تَكْفُرُوا أَنْتُمْ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَغَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. In Surah Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, he said, إِن تَكْفُرُوا أَنْتُمْ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا, that if you disbelieve in all of mankind on this earth, everyone disbelieves in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will not affect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any way. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَغَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. Definitely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is independent and all praiseworthy. In a famous hadith Qudsi, mentioned in Sahih Muslim and in other books, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, قال الله تبارك وتعالى, that Allah تبارك وتعالى, He said, يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم فإنسكم وجنكم كانوا على أتقى قلب رجل واحد منكم ما زاد ذلك في ملكي شيئا. O my beloved servants, of the first and last amongst you, mankind and jinnkind among you, all of you are to become the most muttaqi, all of you are to become the most pious, righteous, God-fearing amongst you. مَا زَادَ ذَلِكَ فِي مُلْكِ شَيْئًا. They will not increase in my kingdom anything. يَا عِبَادِي لَوْ أَنَّ أَوَّلَكُمْ وَآخِرَكُمْ وَإِنسَكُمْ وَجِنَّكُمْ كَانُوا عَلَى أَفْجَرِ قَلْبِ رَجُلٍ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْكُمْ مَا نَقَصَ ذَلِكَ مِن مُلْكِ شَيْئًا. My beloved servants, of the first and last amongst you, mankind and jinnkind among you, all of you are to get together and become the most wicked amongst you, to commit the most wicked of sins, the greatest of disobedience. مَا نَقَصَ ذَلِكَ مِن مُلْكِ شَيْئًا. That will not diminish from my kingdom anything. We cannot affect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any way. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a system of cause and effect. Certain things happen, they have an effect. We perform righteous deeds, it has an effect. We commit sins, it has an effect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this system in this world. Sometimes we live long enough to see the effect, sometimes we don't. That effect system Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in place. And this is for everything. And it's not just related to our actions, but look within this world. This world is a place of cause and effect. And wise people, they're able to see the cause and then understand the effect. And many times they're even able to stop a dangerous thing from happening by understanding the cause and trying to prevent that cause. But that's a different topic for another time. But that is a system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in place. It does not mean that He's affected by our a'mal in any way. So that being that is completely independent of His creation. غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is independent from His creation. The next quality that a being must have in order to be considered eligible for worship is that that being must be perfect. It must have perfection. No deficiency, no weakness whatsoever. If you look at the whole of creation has weaknesses, has defects, has deficiencies. Everything in creation has a defect. No matter how powerful we might think something from creation is, it has weakness, it has defect. The most powerful thing we might be able to comprehend is time, how powerful time is. It's a defect, it doesn't go backwards, it just goes in one direction. One way that we understand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the system of time. We have been trying to exploit it, but that's out of our reach. We don't know if anyone has ever been able to exploit it by going back in time and changing something. Another thing we may consider very, very powerful is death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created death so powerful. No creation has been able to escape death. But a time will come where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause death to also be finished. This means that death is not immortal either. Time will come. It also has that weakness. So everything within creation has a weakness. Because everything in creation has a weakness, we human beings are also very weak. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. This human being has been created very weak. How many defects, how many weaknesses, how many shortcomings we have. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is perfect. There's no weakness, no defects. Even the slightest concept of defect, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from that all even. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم. No slumber, no sleep affects Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No tiredness, no exhaustion. We slumber when we're tired, we sleep when we're exhausted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never gets tired. He never feels weary of anything. No kind of tiredness, no kind of weakness. This is for the creation. Creation gets tired. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect being. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this fact very, very clear. In many, many places in the Quran. No kind of tiredness. وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِن لُغُوبٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes something very, very clear. We created the seven heavens and the earth and whatever is between them in 6 days. In the 6 stages of creation. وَمَا مَسَّنَا مِن لُغُوبٍ. No kind of tiredness or fatigue touched us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't get this idea and this concept of weakness. It's not there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a perfect being. He created everything from start. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always been there, always will be there. And see, this starting, that in itself is a kind of weakness, because if you start, that means that there was a time where you didn't exist. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was, since ever, will be forever. Al-awwal bila ibtida wal-akhir bila intiha. A being who's the first without any beginning, the last without any end. Perfect being. Everything else started. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created time, it had a start. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe, it had a start. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created creation, it has a start. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that one being, since ever, forever. Al-Hayy, the ultimate living being. No deficiency, no weakness. It cannot affect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of this fact, all of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are also perfect. Since ever, forever. His zat, His existence, since ever, forever. That is why trying to understand the zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we as creation cannot comprehend that. Even we have been clearly instructed not to try and contemplate on the zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the essence, the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That how is He, what is He is. Beyond our ability and capability of understanding and comprehension. Yes, we can contemplate on creation and we can get an understanding of perfect being that He is. Another thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that perfect being that has no actual relationship as far as the relative relationship is concerned to His creation. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. It does not beget nor was He begotten. Wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. There's nothing like Him. Laysa kamithlihi shay'. There's nothing that you can give as an example about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa lahul mathalul a'la fis samawati wal ard. To Him belongs the greatest and highest examples of the heavens and the earth. Beyond description. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that being, that so perfect being. So He does not have this kind of family ties, parents or children or this relative and that relative. It doesn't, because if you get to that level, then the impartiality is gone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created His creation. He treats His creation, all of them equally with justice. And that is a perfect justice from His side. He's created a system in this world. He's created a system in this universe that is operating. And that system is what is moving and flowing. We see the effect of that system. Nations come and nations go. Powers come and powers go. Different nations are given different chances. Some are very powerful. Their power extends very far. Some come and go different times. وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. There's a system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created of various conditions going from various nations at different times. Some nations become powerful. Another time comes, another nation becomes powerful. The very nations that were oppressed and finished, a time comes where those nations become on the upper hand. And the very nation that were oppressing them, they're the ones that are finished. This up and down has been going on. So we can understand and we can see the system. It's something we can contemplate on. When it comes to the zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the essence and existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to understand one fact which is mentioned in this ayah. Ilahu wahid. He is only one ilah. As human beings, we understand many things by examples. Rarely do we find something that is one and we can make a full analysis of it. We're able to understand our abilities by understanding the capability of mankind. There's so many human beings in this world. The same with the other creatures. We're able to understand them by the other creatures that are like them, by that whole species. The idea of a species is something that we can understand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one and unique being. He's the only one. Ilahun wahid. There's no one else, nothing else like him. And if there was any other like him, there'd be nothing but chaos. And that's not something difficult to understand. Look at us human beings. How many human beings there are in the world? 7 billion humans. More than that. And all of this collective effort, we have yet to find 100% world peace. Go through human history. We have had problems, we have problems, we will have problems. This is because the reality of people having the same amount of power. When nations get to a certain level of power, so they compete with one another. That competition leads to many, many problems. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this system so that we may be able to understand that there can only be one being that is ruling this universe. Otherwise, there will be nothing but chaos in the whole universe. In our world, in our human world, how much chaos we have created. Majority of this chaos is because of us in our world. So what if there was another being that has same power? What would happen in the universe? لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا. Had there been any other God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there would be nothing but chaos. It would spoil and destroy the whole system. So when the Zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a perfect being, who in himself is perfect, and he has created creation, and in creating creation, he is not affected by his creation. Now when it comes to us, so this is the understanding of Ilah. Now when it comes to us as human beings, again, the whole of creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, that they abide and they follow by the rules and system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The whole of creation. Only we human beings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a limited amount of free will. Even many things within us follow the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't break that system. But we have been given a conscience to decide if we want to accept the truth or we want to deny the truth. Just this much conscience we have been given. Everything else is working in according to the rule and system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our bodies have submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our hearts, our lungs, our liver, all the organs, they've already submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why they operate, they work, they have a system in working, they work in a certain way and that's it. They follow the hukum and command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When time comes and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the command and now finish, everything stops working. Ruh is gone, body's finished. So even we as human beings, most of us have submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, majority of our bodies. Just we've been given this one conscience to decide if we want to accept the truth or deny the truth. And to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or to disobey Him. This is how much we've been given. The rest of the whole of creation has submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even if somebody chooses not to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's only so far they can go and only so much they can do. They're limited by so many factors. It's not that they're free, that okay, if na'udhu billah, you don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can do whatever you want, how you want. It doesn't work. So we have this concept and this fact of universal laws, of gravity, and we have air, and you have all of these universal systems and laws that are working. Matter is there. It's not that those who don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can do whatever they want. They can go and have their own system. It doesn't work. Even those that na'udhu billah associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they fall into shirk. Even in that shirk, it's not that they're able to do something outside of the system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established. This is His system. This is His creation. Whether we believe or we don't believe, we're still forced to follow it. We're still forced to abide by it. And the final consequences will come when judgment comes. So it is this understanding of Ilah that makes it very, very clear that there's only one Allah. And it is because of this misunderstanding of what Ilah is that mankind has fallen into this deranged system of associating partners with Him. That we take certain creations to take to that level as if, na'udhu billah, they have the qualities of godhood, when in reality they don't. In reality, they don't have any share in godhood in any way. So that is one thing about the Zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Coming to our understanding as creation, and again particularly as mankind, as believers, and what we understand as far as worship is concerned. One is the concept of Ilahu Wahid, one Ilah. Now coming to the first part of the verse, wa ilahukum, your Ilah, Ilah of all of you, that being that we should worship. Now when it comes to the concept of worship, ibadah or ubudiyah, one major thing that we have to understand is that ibadah, when it comes to our relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the major aspect of ibadah is dependence. That we understand we are completely and entirely in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. O mankind, you are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be nothing, we'll be finished. In essence, we won't even exist. And this is a very easy concept to understand. In mathematics, if you don't have one, you cannot have the other numbers. If you reach a very ridiculously high number, whatever we might be thinking is a high number, million or billion or whatever number is beyond that, whatever high number you reach, it has to have started from somewhere, and that starting is from one. If you do not have one, you cannot get to 2 and 3 and whatever goes after that. So in essence, the other numbers, even in mathematics, they say it's a universal language. The other numbers depend on the first number. The whole of creation depends on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This level of dependence is what is also understood when we get to the concept of ibadah. That being that we depend on, that being that we turn to with our hopes, we have hope from. And because we depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to such a degree, of every aspect of our life, also comes the understanding that everything that we have comes from Him. Every favor, every bounty, every condition, every moment, everything that we have comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once that's understood, then there's a famous saying, Al-insan abid al-ihsan. This man, this human being, mankind, they are the slaves of kindness. Whenever someone is kind to us, least we do is we say thank you. If somebody showers favors on us, we also want to repay them back. At least say thank you or give them a gift back. But if someone showers so many favors on us that we're not even able to pay them back, least we do is we try to serve them. Take the example of our parents. You go even far beyond that. That being that has given us everything and in return does not ask us for anything. وَهُوَ يُطْعِمُ وَلَا يُطْعَمُ. He feeds us, takes care of us. He does not need to be fed or does not need anything from us. Even the ibadah we do at the end, it benefits us. So once we understand this, then there comes the aspect that all of these bounties, favors, good moments, everything that we have is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then there is and this is again a condition of the heart, the aspect of love. Kind of love is developed. Why do we love our parents? Because they take care of us. They took care of us at a time when we didn't have anyone else to look after us. There may be many people who may not even have parents from infancy. Someone else looks after them, becomes their parent. How much love do they have for those people? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of us and gives us everything and in return doesn't even want anything, the least we want is from love. That love is developed in the human heart. And that comes to the sense of servitude and also worship. That is also ibadah, the essence of ibadah. So this is just the first two aspects of understanding ilah. One is wa ilahukum, and the second is ilahun wahid. And it's amazing they're mentioned in this order. Because wa ilahukum, your ilah, that ilah that you have hope from, that you depend on, you need in your life, that being that has given you everything. And because he has bestowed all favors on you, naturally you should have a love for him. That being is ilahu wahid, only one ilah. And when you really sit down and contemplate and meditate and think about this concept, then the real understanding comes. This is why throughout the Quran we have been told, أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Will you not contemplate? Will you not reflect? Will you not remember? Will you not use your common sense? Really think about this. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Will you not reflect deeply on the Quran, what message the Quran is giving you? When you really reflect on this, then you understand, yes, there's only one ilah, one Allah. And I am fully and completely and entirely in need of him, and I have hope from him also. So there's the concept of ilah. So when you even come to the meaning in Arabic of the word ilah, there are a few extensions. There are some root terms that have come in explaining this word ilahun. In itself is kind of a root term. And in Arabic is an amazing language. In one word, you can have so many deep meanings. This is where then you get to the last part of this ayah, La ilaha illahu. And you start to put these concepts together, that there's no ilah but him. And that ilah in Arabic, when you get to the root term, this is where the Arabs have extracted aliha, yulahu. Another one, walaha, yulahu. Aliha, which is the aspect of dependence and hope, having hope from someone, having hope from something. And in that hope, going towards it, running towards it. The aspect of a child crying out for its mother, in need of the mother, having hope that the mother will help. The famous Arabic saying, "Aliha al-fasilu ila ummihi," where the infant goat or sheep, you run to its mother. So our dependence and our hope, where we turn our hopes to, and where we run to when we need something. This is our ilah. There may be many that will not depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they'll depend on other things because this is what they've made themselves dependent on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also made that part clear in the Quran. أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you seen the one who has made his own desires his God? When they need something, they have hope from something, they desire something, they run to their desires and fulfilling their shahawat and their desires in the hope of fulfilling their needs. And there's also those. And it's amazing how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word hawa. Those desires, that kind of also a term used very closely to wind. And a type of desire that once it is fulfilled, it goes as quickly as the air through you, you know. How long we can hold our breath. This is the reality of the desires of this world. It's shahawat of this world. You get them, how long they last. Even though happiness and the joy from these material things, how long does it last? Go ask those people who are trying to achieve that joy, trying to get that happiness. They get it momentarily, and then it's gone. They reach a certain point, you get that joy, you get that hype, you get that high, and after that, you're back to the old self. And you need a greater achievement to get that high again. Whereas the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is such a connection that there is perpetual bliss and happiness, sakina and tranquility in it. That being that we turn to, we're in desperate need. We have hopes. Why do we turn to Him? Because we understand that He has bestowed all favors on us. And because He has bestowed all favors on us, He is also the being that we genuinely love. There's a second meaning, وَلَا هَيُّلَهُ. That being that you love even more than your own self. The English term, worth dying for. We say in English, when you get to a certain level of love where a person is ready to even sacrifice themselves for what they love. But that can only be when you understand that you are fully indebted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We owe Him everything. Why? Because He has given us everything and more. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us understanding and give all of us the tawfiq to practice His deen. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.